我好像要瘫痪了。
In today's China, debt is everywhere. The latest figures are jaw-dropping. Over 830 million people owe money. Let that sink in. That's almost the entire working-age population. Out of them, 400 million are already drowning, unable to repay what they owe. Imagine walking down the street. Every other person you pass is carrying debt they can't shake off. It's no longer shocking. It's the new normal. The debt count is about to shatter records again, climbing toward 920 million borrowers with a combined debt of more than $2.9 trillion. Experts predict that by 2026, another 5 million homes will be foreclosed. Housing prices have flatlined, jobs are vanishing, and starting a business feels like stepping into a minefield. Now ask yourself, do you know anyone with no mortgage, no car loan, no online lending debt, no credit card bills, and still has real savings? Outside of the elderly and children, such people have become a rare species. I used to be one of the lucky ones. Born in the 70s, now 55 years old, I once ran 7 thriving restaurants in Guangzhou. Life was good, until it wasn't. Today, I'm $2.23 million in debt. The wealth families built over decades has been wiped out in just a few years. Businesses shut down overnight, livelihoods evaporate, and crushing loans push people to the edge. And it's not just me. A 34-year-old entrepreneur from Kaozhou once drove luxury cars, ran 3 companies, employed 200 people, and owned 2 packed restaurants. But reckless investments and misplaced trust brought him to his knees. $415,000 in debt, credit cards maxed, debt collectors calling non-stop, and even the woman he loved for a decade walked away. China's real estate collapse, spiraling since 2018, dragged thousands of suppliers into ruin. They fronted materials, expecting payment after sales, but buyers vanished. My husband and I, in Chengdu, once made $140,000 profit a month. Then the pandemic hit. Developers stopped paying, loan interest mounted. We sold our home and cars, yet still owe $140,000 after years of struggle. Debt has a way of stripping people of dignity. I once arrived in Henan with only $28, a gift from my aunt. Years ago, I'd helped her secure a $300,000 loan when her furniture factories were booming. Now I came to ask for work, and found she, too, was barely holding on. For a man born in 1989, debt has reached $800,000. The worst part? Just when you calm yourself, a creditor calls, shoving you back into panic. Over 10 million Chinese are now officially labeled as dishonest debtors. If they jailed us all, would that erase what we owe? Of course not. Shops close by the thousands, corporations crumble overnight, and millions wake to find themselves jobless. Yet some so-called experts ignore the unemployment crisis and instead devise new ways to squeeze debtors. Nielsen's research shows that 86.6% of Chinese aged 16 to 59 are in debt. For most, the only work left is food delivery or courier jobs. And even then, income barely covers living costs. This isn't just an economic downturn. It feels like the entire system is turning into one giant trap, and no one is finding the exit. Today, I want to lay myself bare, not in body, but in truth. I was born in 1974, now 50 years old. Once I was at the peak of my life. 5 stores booming with business, annual revenue in the tens of millions, and 4 shiny condos under my name. I thought the good days would last forever. But after the pandemic hit, everything began to crumble. My stores bled money, my mortgages went unpaid, and one condo was already sold at auction. It wasn't until I had to step back into society that I understood the cruelty of reality. To earn the same $28 my parents once gave me as pocket money, I now work 12 hours delivering food, returning home with an aching back and a body that feels older than my years. I no longer take photos, reply to messages, or even watch videos. Friends have faded away one by one. If I could start over, I would have gone to college instead of rushing into the world as a teenager, struggling just to stay afloat, like wandering through a storm with no shelter. Why leave your hometown? Look around. Migrant workers are now like wilted cabbages no one bothers to pick up. This year, many scramble for summer jobs that pay 80 cents an hour. Some cling to $120 a day labor just to survive. Watching them feels like watching my own children, and it breaks me. This isn't 2005, it's 2025. The market is dead. Factories demand workers stand from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., sometimes 10 p.m., all for $2 an hour. They joke they're treated like beasts of burden, but in truth, it's worse. I've been jobless for 40 days. Today, I was called into work, only to be sent home 2 hours later. I didn't even have rice for lunch. Colleagues are quitting in waves, but I don't know where else I could go. There's a character from an old Chinese novel, Kong Yi-ji, a poor scholar mocked for wearing his long gown. In school, we were told he was a symbol of misery before the Communist Party liberated China. But now, young people realize they are Kong Yi-ji. I'm not afraid to say it. I was born in 2001, graduated from college 2 years ago, and every day I work until afternoon in a half-dead state. My parents believed a degree would be my ticket to a better life. They scraped together every last yuan to send me to university. After graduation, they thought our suffering was over. Instead, society laughed at us, saying we couldn't take off our long gown, that our education was useless, and that's why we couldn't make money. Now I understand why so many young people refuse to have children. It's not laziness, it's survival. In this economy, even feeding yourself is a challenge, let alone raising a new life. The older generation says, having a child just means another pair of chopsticks at the table. They're wrong. Raising a child means endless expenses, sleepless nights, and a constant fear of not being enough. In today's China, every person is just a grain of dust in the wind, and dust cannot hold up a future. For generations, young people have been the driving engine of China's economy. But in recent years, that engine has been sputtering. Jobs are disappearing, wages are shrinking, and even those lucky enough to find work are trapped in a brutal 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6-day grind. The result? A generation weighed down by confusion, anxiety, and exhaustion. This year's job market paints a grim picture. Law graduates end up making milk tea. Graduates from China's most prestigious universities, Tsinghua and Peking, are delivering takeout. Thousands of fresh graduates send out hundreds of resumes without a single reply, or get offers so low they can't cover basic living costs. Online, some confess that they're not short-tempered. They're just burnt out, crushed by the weight of life. On the surface, they act indifferent, but inside, they're drowning in bitterness and helplessness. And it's not just the poor who are struggling. Remember when Jack Ma once claimed houses would be as cheap as green onions? For those who bought luxury homes and cars on credit, the dream has turned into a nightmare. A sudden drop in income turns monthly mortgage and car payments into a slow, bleeding wound. One business owner, after more than a decade of running a brick-and-mortar store, says this is the first time she's seen sales vanish overnight. She's thought of closing down many times, but refuses to throw away 10 years of effort. Yet if she does shut her doors, she has no idea what she could possibly do next. Compete with fresh graduates for low-paying jobs? The thought feels almost absurd. Even for those with degrees, the good job is a myth. One graduate joined a major state-owned company, only to find there wasn't even an office to work in. Nothing like the TV dramas promised. In Guangxi, locals warn their own not to bother looking for summer jobs. Wages have dropped into single digits. Parents spend years saving to send their children to university, only for them to graduate into a dead-end market. Was the purpose of college just to keep professors and campus vendors employed? Walk around a college district now and you'll see entire streets of takeout restaurants shuttered or desperate to transfer their leases. One street had 20 shops, all gone. Even gyms aren't spared. One man said he bought a membership only to find the place shut down a month later. That night, he was hauling his belongings out of the locked building. This isn't just an economic downturn. It's a storm that's swallowing dreams whole.